But they're also very idealistic, right? Some people, they're just a product of their circumstance, and maybe they have to work a night shift,
Well,
right?
they do, yes.
So what about for those folks? What are some actionable things they can do?
Well, certainly the sorts of things that we've talked about.
Yes.
Make sure that if you're on the night shift, that you are eating correctly, that you will be predisposed for weight gain, diabetes too. So do the exercise, eat right, where you can catch up with sleep, and just live the healthiest style you can.
Right.
But be aware that there are dangers, and in fact, the problems of night shift work increase with the number of years you do it.
Okay.
And so I think it would be an interesting sort of study to see if you cycled people in and out, that you didn't work longer than 5 years, let's say,
Sure.
and then you cycled out, and then you cycle back in perhaps. But you'd need a sympathetic employer to do that. And of course, as we've been discussing, there's a huge economic driver for doing night shift work. It's usually people from a lower socioeconomic group.
Right.
They are marginalized, and we don't think about them.
Mm-hmm.
And we should start to, because our economy is entirely dependent upon them. And so we've got to give them more respect and more help. And I think, engage. I suppose also, yes, that's the idealist bit. And I feel quite passionately that they are a marginalized group, and we do need to do some more for them. But also the pragmatist in me says, well, hang on. You're going to have, as an employer, a class action suit saying, I crashed my car, killed somebody on the drive home after the night shift. You didn't give me any warning that I might be, show increased tiredness. You didn't give me any advice about what I should do in terms of dealing with the drive home or the accident in the workplace, and somebody gets very badly injured because, of course, they're falling to sleep, their vigilance drops. It's worth bearing in mind that one's ability to process information at 4 o'clock in the morning is worse than if you've consumed sufficient alcohol to make you legally drunk.
Really? It's comparable?
It's actually worse. Some wonderful studies by Drew Dawson in Australia showed this very clearly. So, if you're driving a car at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, it's your ability to drive that car is worse than if you were legally drunk.
Wow.
And of course, accounting for traffic volume, that's when many of the accidents occur. Right. And it's when many of the fatal accidents occur, because the problem is you're falling asleep and you don't have you're unconscious. So the car can go off in lots of different directions. You're probably also going at quite a high speed. Mm-hmm. And so these accidents tend also to be fatal. So you're going to have people saying to an employer, you didn't warn me. You didn't provide anything for me. I've now got cancer. I've now got diabetes too. You made no provision in the workplace to help me. Now, in fairness to the employers, they're only just becoming aware of this. But I think what you need to do is get a proper dialogue between scientists, employers and employees to develop best practice in the workplace to deal with night shift work. Because if you don't, we're going to have a horrible legal mess whereby proper constructive discussion then falls apart. We're going to become sort of backed into corners,
right?
And that's the last thing that I would want. So I'm really pushing for dialogue and engagement. And in fact, some sectors of the business community are taking
they?
That's
what I was going to ask you. Have you seen any uptake?
We've just done some work on white collar shift workers, and that's a group that hasn't really been studied, and the statistics are really awful. I mean, it's as you would expect, emotional problems, depression, just you name it, metabolic problems. And so what we now need to do is work with the banking sector to say, okay, what can we do to try and mitigate some of the problems? You're not going to get rid of it,
right?
But there's a duty of care where you can mitigate some of these problems. And that's my frustration, because there's nobody really mitigating those issues at the moment.